There are complete beginners getting into real estate with 0 properties, yet making tens of thousands of dollars per month. How do I know? Because I'm one of them. I started this brand new luxury villa rental management business 7 months ago. And in those 7 months, I've generated over $1.1 million in revenue at a 30% profit margin, renting other people's villas. And in this video, I'm going to reveal my exact 3-step process that allowed me to make my first $10,000 in 2 weeks, so you can do the same. I'm going to cover how I discovered luxury villa management, how I partnered with my first homeowner to rent out his property, and how I made my first $10,000. I'm going to tell you the platforms that I use every single day to run this business. And again, everything that you see here is done without owning a single property myself. This is the exact 3-step process that allows me to collect over $5,000 in a single day. By the way, if at any point you decide to launch your own luxury villa rental management business, click the link in bio and find out how I can make sure that you start and scale your business in the most profitable way possible. Now let's get started. How did I get into luxury villa management? Well, it kind of fell on my lap, and it's actually a funny story. So sit down, grab some popcorn, and get ready for this. When I was 17 years old in high school, I launched a party promotion company called Miami Getties that was promoting house parties all over Miami. So one of the house parties that I threw was one of the villas that was managed by another management company. And I threw a most insane party. It was a banger. There was probably 300 people plus inside that house, Project X style. So we were inside the house and we were partying, whatever. And the owner of the villa rental company came to the door to try to kick everyone out. And I obviously answered the door. And he was like, "Who are you?" I was like, "Who are you?" And he was like, "I'm the manager of the house. All of you guys need to get out of here. This party is completely unauthorized." I was like, "Oh no, how am I gonna get everyone out here?" So I got everyone out of there in the span of like 40 minutes, which I don't know if you guys ever thrown your own party, but to get 300 people out of a house in 40 minutes, that's something that not even a major music festival could do. So I got everyone out of there and we just became friends, me and the owner of the management company that was managing the house. And we were chatting, whatever, we were friends for around a year. Until later on, I was working at a desk job that I felt like I was at the typical rat race, the 9 to 5, the one that you have to clock in and you're sitting at a desk and you're dialing numbers and you feel like this is your life forever. So I was sitting at this desk and all of a sudden I get a message from him saying, "What's up?" And it wasn't out of the ordinary. He was my friend. So I said, "What's up?" And he was like, "What are you doing?" And I told him I'm at my miserable job doing my miserable things that I do every single day. Then he was like, "Well, that sounds horrible. Why haven't you ever asked to work for me?" So I was like, "You never offered me anything." So that day he offered me the position as a property manager at a villa rental company. I started doing the management of the properties. I was making sure that everything was okay with the homes, making sure that the ACs were good, all these different types of stuff, you know, typical property manager stuff. Then I started moving into actually renting out the homes. So I had my own clients, people that were checking into the properties before. They kept my number. They hit me up again to stay again at one of the homes in Miami. So I was keeping the number and I kept in touch with them. And then I built my own client base. Once I started renting out my own homes, I started managing the other agents that were renting out the homes. So I was going through and managing every single agent. Agents would come to me and ask me what the prices should be for the properties. I would tell them. If they needed help closing a deal, I would help them on that too. Then after I moved from being an agent, I moved into portfolio management. So I was handling everything within the portfolio, how to reach out to new homeowners, how to bring on new homeowners, how to close bigger deals, how to manage all the agents that were there, how to do the accounting for the properties, how to do the operations for the properties. I was in charge of the operations manager and the agents. So it's pretty much touching every single aspect of the company. When I first started, everyone was using Guesty because it was like the new latest and greatest type of property management system that everyone wanted to be in. And then I quickly realized that Guesty was way too expensive to handle day to day on larger operations, which is what we were doing. So the dollar amounts I was usually aiming for in the beginning were lower tiered homes. So I was just looking for volume. I was looking for as many bookings as possible, because more bookings, I could fill in the calendars or on small dates. I had no nightly minimum. There was probably people that were staying one night during the week, but then that quickly turned into a nightmare. So usually people that stay one night during a weekend, that usually means that they're renting a house just for the party, just for a party. And me, my background in doing house parties, I knew exactly what was up. I knew exactly what their process is to rent out an Airbnb just to throw a party. So with that being said, I had systems in place for those specific types of reservations. So I stopped doing the one nightly minimum. I jumped to 2 on a weekday and 3 night minimum on weekends. And that completely changed everything. Not only I was getting more money because people were booking longer, I was also filling in the calendar on the small little dates that were during the week. Now what I focus on, and what I tell all my homeowners to focus on, is not the little nightly rate. Focus on the larger amount per month, because you have a monthly carry cost. So we need to at least cover your monthly carry costs. I tell that to all my homeowners. Real estate is a long game. Your goal is to cover your home mortgage amounts as long as possible, because then you make the real money when you sell it later on. Let's say in like 5 years, you sell it because the property value naturally went up. So the short-term rental is still the real estate long game. Your goal is to cover your mortgage. Anything over your mortgage, that is a blessing. That's what I tell all of them. I tell them it's coffee table money. It's literally coffee table money, money that you could use for whatever you want. Now I focus on the occupancy rather than the nightly rate. When I focus on the occupancy, I realize that I could charge a lesser amount for, like, let's say a Monday and a Tuesday when no one's really gonna stay there anyway. Let's say I'm charging $5,000 a night. That's an extra $10,000 a week, $40,000 a month that I'm getting just because I dropped the nightly rate on the Monday for a house that usually would cost double that, $10,000 a night. So when I first got started, like I said before, that I was using Guesty, and I quickly decided that Guesty is good for people that have maybe 1, 2, or 3 homes. But once you start getting to the 5, 10, 15, 20 homes, Guesty just gets expensive. Because yes, it's a great platform. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just very expensive for what you actually need. Me personally, when I first started, I decided to move from Guesty over to Google Spreadsheets. Now I know most people are gonna say Google Spreadsheets, that is an absolute nightmare. But hold up, listen to me. There was no property management system at the time on the market that could cover every single expense that I was looking for. Because down here in Miami, you don't only do nightly rates. It's not only whatever comes in from Airbnb. We were also doing upsales. We were doing upsales on a car, on a yacht, on a chef, on masseuse, on jets, all these different types of things. So that money also had to be accounted for. So what I did was I created a specific formula for a Google Sheet. So I would put down all the bookings on one column, or I would say one tab, and then I would have a second tab as the total amounts. So whatever inputs on the first tab automatically gets added to the second tab. So that was my specific formula, and it worked for me, it worked for the business, it was great. Up until more property management systems started coming out, and I was introduced to HostAway. HostAway, it has a section in HostAway that you're able to input upsales, which was great. When I first got started with luxury villa management, I did not know anything about it. All I knew was how to throw a party. That's all I knew. I did not know anything about how to rent a villa, let alone how to manage a reservation while I'm there. So it's just things that you get to learn as you go. You're not gonna be an expert on your first reservation. There's gonna be new things that you learn every single day. That's why I personally love this industry, is because you learn every single day. But let's say I've been doing this for 7 years now. I have all this knowledge of what people look for, what you should look for, what you could prevent when you rent out your homes. So early growth, what it looked like was small 4-bedroom homes, or it would be a 6-bedroom home without a pool. And to have a home without a pool in Miami is absolutely horrible. It's like going to a hotel and it doesn't have any pool or anything like that. That's horrible. You come here, you want to enjoy the pool. So those are the type of homes that we were doing in the beginning. So when I first met my first homeowner that I brought on, I was actually talking to him for 3 months. It took me 3 months for him to say yes for me. So what I did was I found out who the specific owner was, and I found out where he's a member at, where he hangs out, where his restaurants are at. And then I found out who his friends were. And I just started becoming friends with his friends. I started showing up to the places that he was in. You know, when people would tell you how to ask a girl out at the gym, most people, they go to the gym and they just want to work out and leave. But the way that you grab a girl at the gym is you plant the seed in, and then you go back another day, keep saying hi, get closer and closer. Maybe the next time that you see her, you say, hey, I've been seeing you often. My name's Or, by the way. And then you leave. And then next time you come, it's like, we should do a workout together, stuff like that, you know. So I've been going way too deep on that. Point is that you plant the seed. So I was planting the seed with the homeowner. I met him, he knew who I was, I knew who he was. And I would see him at different restaurants, different lounges, and I would just say hi. That's it. Hey, how are you? Me, whoever, how's it going? And then it would be slowly but surely, we would meet, we would talk, we would have like a 5-minute conversation, then 10-minute conversation, then 30-minute conversation. Point is that you move in with relationship. Relationships are everything with this industry. If you're bad at relationships, you're gonna be bad at this. So that's one thing that I always say is learn how to network. So then I would become friends with their friends, and basically I would speak with his friends, tell them what I do. Then I would convince them to vouch for me to that specific homeowner. Finally, after 3 months of doing that, he finally said, okay, I'll give you a shot for 1 month. 30 days is what he gave me the shot for. In those 30 days, I listed the property. I got the property ready within 3 days, first of all, with photos and everything. But within the first month, we've done $60,000. This was a $10 million home. For a $10 million home to be sitting there, not doing anything, it's collecting dust, in its first month hit $60,000. He was absolutely ecstatic. He was like, let's go. So we started going, and that homeowner ended up netting around $600,000 for the year of 2024. It was 2024. He ended up netting $600,000, and he was ecstatic. He ended up taking the home off the market, kept it on with me. I'm continuing to rent that home till this day. And he also is planning on buying another property to do short-term rentals with. That's how good this system works. Point is that when you start slow, it's inevitable. It's just like anything you do in life. It's gonna suck when you first start, but you gotta keep going. It's like going to the gym. I'm bringing back the gym analogy. Don't mind me bringing back the gym analogy. When you go to the gym for the first time in your life, do you see any results? No. When you go for the first week, will you see any results? No. If you go for the first month, will you see any results? No. Now, when you're talking about 3 months, sure, you'll see something. But when you really see the difference is when you're working every single day consistently and you look back a year from now and you're like, wow, I can't believe how far I've come. That is the consistency that I've done when I first got started. When I first got started on my own, I told myself, this is absolutely impossible. How am I gonna do this? And I was super scared. Flash forward 7 months later, I've done $1 million in revenue, 1.1 million in revenue, and I am in the best spot I've ever been in my life. I'm making the most I've ever had. I have the best relationships that I've ever had. I could do whatever I want. Homes are booked. So when the homes are booked, I'm doing anything I want. So that is the best thing. That is the best feeling ever. So one of the objections that obviously the first homeowner gave me was the obvious. It's what happens if my property gets damaged? That is the number one question that everyone will probably have. And the answer is, if your property gets damaged, that is what damage deposits are in place for. The chances of something catastrophic happening to your property, like let's say a tile cracks, or let's say a hole gets put in the wall, or let's say that the glass breaks of something, the chances of that happening, if you do everything correctly up until the check-in, which means vet the guests, vet everything, and make sure that the guests are really who they say they are, and make sure that everything is good with the guests. If you make sure of all that, there is very, very slim chances of anything like that happening. And if something like that does happen, you're dealing with a very different league over here. You're dealing with the upper echelon of humans that the world has to offer. If someone accidentally breaks, let's say there was one time that someone accidentally broke this glass, they replaced it out of their own pocket. It was $7,000 to replace that piece of glass because it's double planed. So point is that you're dealing with higher level of people, not people that will ditch you on the bill, people that want to keep relationships with you. Now, obviously with this one, this place, the deposit amount is $5,000. So all he had to put down was an extra $2,000. He still paid for it at the end of the day. I didn't eat that. But if for some reason you miss vetting a guest, miss all that different types of stuff, homeowner is gonna say, what happens to my property if you miss all of that? I'm gonna eat it. I have to. What am I gonna do? I'm not gonna lose my relationship with the homeowner. I way rather eat something. I way rather pay the $7,000 to get this fixed and continue renting it and make the $7,000 on the next rental than not doing it. I way rather continue renting the property after I paid for the damages than not paying for the damages. I lose the house and I get a bad rep on my name because the homeowner is going to message a bunch of different other owners and say how bad of a manager I am. I ran off on this thing, and how the homeowner now has to pay $7,000 to fix a glass. So point is, either the guest pays for it, or if you suck at your job, you pay for it. If I could go back in time and change the way that I met my first homeowner, I probably would have spoken more about the processes and everything within it and how I'm supposed to prevent certain things from happening. When you stick in the owner's head that you are a partner with them and your goal is to make them money, but at the same time protect their asset, aka their home, they will look at you much more differently. It's much more different than going to someone and telling that person, hey, I can make you a lot of money. And then that person's like, great, at what expense though? But if you go to a person and say, I'm gonna look after your house, but at the same time, I'm gonna make you a lot of money. You see how the tone is? I way rather feel more comfortable when someone tells me that rather than someone telling me, I could just make you a lot of money. No shit. Anyone can make a lot of money. It's the people that actually take care of the property are the ones that last the longest. So one of my largest deals to date was actually my third deal I've ever done alone. And that deal was a $200,000 rental for 5 weeks down in Miami. So after I already got the property and I started already running it as a rental, I kind of got lucky, and in my third rental, I made the $10,000 profit that I was looking for, because that was a $10,000 profit for 4 weeks. They were staying at the property and it just came in as an instant book and it was super easy. Now, the time that I made real money, which I'm talking $30,000 plus profit, was this one time this inquiry came in from a realtor, because like I said, network equals your net worth. So I network with a lot of realtors down in my city, and an inquiry came in from a realtor, and this was a budget of $200,000 for 5 weeks at a villa in Miami. Now, this specific client came down to Miami just to tour villas before his family comes down. We found them a home. This home I was not managing, but everyone was able to book it. So I reached out to the homeowner, told them that I have a client, this, and that, and they want to stay here. Are we able to do it? He said, obviously, of course. So we set up the tour, client came, toured the property. He liked it. There were some things that he didn't like, but I ended up convincing him that he should take it. He ended up taking it and we signed the contract. Done deal, right? Wrong. Now, 4 or 5 months later, the homeowner reached out to me and told me, hey, by the way, the client that you had at this property, we're gonna need to cancel because the current people in there wanted to extend. What? I have $200,000 of someone's money and you're telling me I have to cancel it? Mind you, this was one of my largest deals. This was, if not the largest deal I've ever done. And he's like, yep, sorry, you could book it, you could take it and put him somewhere else. Wow. Now, when I first put him in the first property, I was going to make $15,000 profit from that deal. Now, I was about to make no profit because I was about to have to cancel this client from their property. Now, I am frantically looking around for different homeowners. I'm calling a bunch of different homeowners that I'm finding on the internet, and I'm telling them about this inquiry because that's the best thing I could have. I have money in bank. I have the proof of funds. I just need to find the property. So what I did, I called many owners. I probably called, no joke, 75 homeowners. And out of those 75, 3 said yes. And out of those 3 that said yes, after I told the client that I had to cancel him and move into a different property, after he did the whole spiel of flying down here just to see this specific property, I was like, how am I gonna convince this guy? Because he doesn't live here. He lives in California. He flew from California 6 hours to come over here to see this specific property. And then after I showed him the specific property, I have to cancel on him. Now I'm trying to convince him that there's this other house that is an upgrade from what he already toured. The check-in was a week after I told him that I have to swap him. So he has 1 week to figure out what he's going to do. I went to the house, I toured him on FaceTime. I told him, you have to take this property. I'm going to throw in a discount for you. And that's what I told him. I told him instead of paying $200,000, now you're gonna pay $180, which was still a lot of money. And the client was more leaning towards the okay side. I'll pay the $180. And I pushed him to the property. I told the homeowner that I need 20%. So I locked it in at 20% commission from this $180,000 deal. And client's happy that he got a discount. I'm ecstatic because I got a fat commission and I just got a new homeowner. I got a homeowner that I can continue doing bookings with, that I do bookings with till this day, and they are completely happy with me. So that's $144,000 to the homeowner for a 5-week stay at a house that they just had sitting empty. I don't think you guys understand. If I was a homeowner, I would 100% take $144,000 for a 5-week stay at a property that I have sitting empty. How much better could that get? I don't live there. It's my second home. Someone's paying me $144,000. That's amazing. And they also take care of the property. I took care of the property while the guest was staying there. What was taken care of? I called the pool guy. I called the landscape guy. I just set them on a schedule. They came once a week. What else was there? Trash people comes from the city. There's nothing much else to do. There was a time during a reservation that the electric panel flicked, the breaker jumped. So then you just replace the breaker, which was $5,000. I didn't even pay for it. The homeowner paid for it. And the client's happy. The client will most likely come back again. Absolutely amazing experience. So when I first made my first $50,000 net month, I don't care what anyone says on social media. I'm going to tell you over here because I've always told myself, once I hit that $50,000 a month mark, I am going to live differently. And I did hit that, and it didn't feel the same as I thought it would. What I felt was I gotta work harder because even that is not enough. It's not that it's not enough, it's that when you make more, you also spend more. Like, it's very hard for you to spend little and make a lot. You have to spend some to make some. That's just how life works. So when I first made my first $50,000 profit month, yeah, I splurged a little. I got a couple nice things and stuff like that. I got a new laptop. I got this and that. But at the end of the day, I was ready to go and keep working for next month. That is the mindset that I was going for. It wasn't so much like, wow, I beat the game. I escaped the matrix. The matrix is a small little fish in a pond. Like, you could escape the matrix today. You could tell yourself, I want to quit my job and do something that I'm happy to do. You can do that today. That's escaping the matrix. Now, to actually have a fulfilled life is doing something that you love to do. Today, this is something that I love to do. I love making people feel good. I love educating people. I love bringing light into the lives that don't see it. That is what I like to do. And that's what I enjoy doing. So making $50,000 a month doesn't really have any meaning to me. It's just more about, I just need to do more, be more, live more, and just achieve more. That's my mindset around hitting my first $50,000 a month. Something that I would tell myself day one, knowing what I know now, is consistency. If you do not understand what consistency is, I will tell you what it is, like as if you are a third grader. I still go on social media. I still scroll on Instagram. I still take slow mornings. I still have naps in the middle of the day. Consistency is way better than bursts of energy. Consistency means that you're doing something towards your goal every single day. Now, obviously, if you don't scroll on Instagram or take a nap or whatever, have slow mornings, you can get there faster. But at the same time, you're human. You don't want to burn out. It's way better to do consistent work every single day to achieve your goals rather than do little bursts of energy. Like, I'm going to do this. Then you go to sleep for 3 days. But I'm going to do that. Then go to sleep for 3 days. Like, it doesn't work like that. If you just do it a little bit every single day, that is what compounds to have a different life. It's just like going to the gym. Back to the gym reference. Yes, I'm bringing it back. When you go to the gym, it's 1% every single day. You're going to feel sore. It's going to hurt. You're going to have days that you don't want to go. You're going to have days that you're going to give yourself an excuse of why you shouldn't do leg day. But guess what? If you go, you're going to feel proud that you did, and you're going to see the difference in a year from now. Life is long. People do not realize. That's what I do not like about social media, is that people put this image in your head that you have to be a certain way to achieve certain things in life. No, you do not need an SVJ at 20 years old. Go buy a property. Go buy something that's going to hold value. These people are spending insane amount of money just to look like they got it. But what are they gonna look like when they're 50 years old? They're living in the now. They're not living in the later. So lock in, decide what you wanna do, be happy with what you do, and move on in life. Move up in life. Be consistent. And I'll catch you guys on the next video.